Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to start introducing our panelists for the only gigantic session for the day. Considering the kind of proceedings we have listed today, well, this is the whale of the day. So ladies and gentlemen, this session is on sesame consumption markets. We are looking at trends and opportunities. Moderating this session, chairing this session online for us is Mr. Chandarana. He is from Dhaval Agri Exports LLP. Moderating this session physically from the stage will be Mr. Srivatsava Ganapathy from Eventell. I would now like to start inviting our panelists onto the stage. I'd like to start by inviting Ms. Elif Narin from Rasagra, GIDA, Turkey. She would be giving us an overview on Turkey. Please put your hands up for Ms. Elif if she's in the house. Giving us the Europe overview will be Mr. David Buttery from Global Grains and Ingredients Limited. Talking about the Japan story will be Mr. Taichi Abe from Mitsui and Company Limited. For the South Korea story, we have Mr. Mihir Parmar from Mamta Commodities. And diving deep into the Egypt sesame story will be Mr. Ghazwan Mousallati from Leno Gulf FZC. Ladies and gentlemen, inviting all the guests onto the stage, including Mr. Srivatsava Ganapathy, as we start this session. Requesting all your presence on the stage, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chandarana is chairing this session for us remotely. He is online connected with us. Mr. Chandarana is the CEO of Dhaval Agri Exports LLP, which is the largest exporter of sesame seeds from India and also a 3-star export house recognized by the Government of India. Additionally, he is also a director of Anam Organics Private Limited, which is a startup with a view to provide the best quality ingredients to Indian kitchens. He is also an elected director of Indian Oilseeds and Produce Export Promotion Council, which is the nominated export promotion council for oilseeds in India. He is looking after the overall management of his business, which is processing, manufacturing, and exporting of sesame seeds and spices. Mr. Taichi Abe is the PIC Sesame for Mitsui and Company. A welcome to the stage, gentlemen. Ms. Elif Narin has already taken her place on the stage. Ms. Elif Narin is from Rasagra, GIDA, and she started working in several departments at Narin's BYS Holding between 2004 to 2011 with a first internship at Mediterranean Shipping Company. She holds a bachelor's degree in international business from Richmond, the American International University in London, and MA in human resource management at Bilgi University. And she has been working in international business and foreign trade at Narin BYS. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, after Ms. Narin on the stage, we also have with us Mr. Mihir Parmar, working as a partner at Mamta Commodities, India, belonging to one of the oldest and the most reputed sourcing companies specializing in sesame seeds. Mihir sir is also in a very short span of time has established himself as a trusted name in the sesame seeds industry across a variety of origins and destination markets. Mr. Ghazwan Mousallati is the CEO of Leno Gulf Commodities. He has done a business management from McGill University, management, marketing and related support services from Concordia University, and professionally, as you all know, he is a part of Leno Gulf. His skills and expertise are marketing strategy and marketing management. Our final presenter this morning is Mr. David Buttery. And talking a little bit about Mr. David Buttery, I have his resume right here on the mobile. So Mr. Buttery is the owner and the founder of Global Grains and Ingredients, headquartered in the City of London. Global Grains are suppliers to all aspects of the food industry throughout the UK, Europe and the rest of the world. With over 3.5 decades of experience in sesame seed business and global grain, Mr. David Buttery is truly what you call the butter on the bread of sesame. He brings so much value with him to the stage. Such a pleasure having you here, sir. And with this, I leave this session in the hands of our very enthusiastic and very passionate on-stage moderator, Mr. Srivatsava Ganapathy. Let's give them all a huge round of applause, everyone.
A very good morning to all of you. We do have Mr. J. Chandarana joining us online, but I am here to manage the floor here. Without much delay, I welcome all the speakers and I will request Ms. Elif Narin to give us some details about Turkey markets. I have also requested her, since Rasagra is also into serving some of the requirements of US markets, if it is possible for giving a brief overview about the US markets as well. With this, may I request Ms. Elif Narin to come on stage for a quick presentation on Turkey as well as USA.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all had a great evening yesterday. Thank you to organization to doing the event. Today I'm going to talk about the sesame seed market in Turkey and a little bit of about USA. And our company. I'm gonna start talking about our company Rasagra in Turkey, and then Seeds and Snack in USA, which is in Oklahoma, and then we are gonna look at global hummus market in USA, because in USA hummus is a big thing and how the tahini is known. And then we are gonna talk about sesame seed market and buy the product. Then I'm gonna talk about Turkey. The imports that has been done until now. So basically in Turkey as Rasagra we have a hulling and tahini production facility in Mersin, as well as the tahini factory in USA, and total we produce 75 tons of tahini per day, including USA and Turkey, 50 tons in Turkey and 25 tons in USA, and we also do tons of sesame seed hulling capacity in Turkey, organic and conventional. And also as Rasagra, we do 75% of Turkey's export alone to all around the world. And this is our company in USA, in Oklahoma. And because USA doesn't really know tahini as Middle East and Middle Eastern cultures, we decided to develop other products to increase the awareness of tahini and how it can be used in USA. That is the reason that we have a sesame seed tahini dressing in USA now, which includes like with green herbs, with sriracha, chipotle, wasabi, and truffle. And also there are hummus mixes, which there are like 2 bags inside, one with chickpeas powder and tahini, and of course our organic tahini, because when we look at the global hummus market in USA, as you can see how it's increasing between 2002 to 2029. It has increased by 5.8%. It will increase by 5.8% because USA is one of the biggest consumption of hummus in the world. And when we look at the sesame seed market by the product in the world, as you can see, we can divide in 4 how the tahini is used in the world. It's sesame seed oil tahini as sesame seed for bakeries and halwa. And by region, of course, the consumption is also changed, and you can see by numbers on the screen how it's increasing from 2017 or 2014 to 2025. When we look at the sesame seed market in Turkey, 60% of sesame seed is used for tahini production in Turkey, and the rest of the 40% is used for simit, which is our traditional bakery in Turkey and bakery sectors. And in 2023 and until now, Turkey has imported almost 186,000 tons of sesame seed to Turkey. And origins and quantities also here, but I will come back to that. So we can say, by looking at here, we can say that this year Brazil has exceeded Nigeria. Since last year Nigeria was in the third place, and as you can see, Chad is the number one. And yeah, this year Niger and Nigeria is okay. So together is 19,000, and you can see, and it used to be 38,000 tons. This can be one of the reason. Can be the reason that Turkey has become so strict about the salmonella problem in Nigerian sesame seed. They become very strict, and they started doing so many analysis. So traders in Turkey become more conservative to import it. Also, because of the Brazilian sesame seed, Pakistan sesame seed, which is more cost-effective, cleaner and hybrid. It was imported and exited Nigerian sesame seed this year. Also, Indian sesame seed has imported to Turkey a lot from summer cropped this until now. An estimated stock until now, we can say around 40,000 to 40,000 tons to 45,000 tons. And we can say that last year Chad, Nigeria and Sudan was the import of these three sesame seed was around 75% of the total, and this year is also decreased to 64%. When we talk about the challenges in Turkey, as we all know and follow the Turkey's economy, our money is losing value against the dollar, so we always have fluctuations in dollars. This affects our economy and also our power to buy sesame seed, as well as the demand on consumption. Suppliers, the traders and suppliers become more conservative on buying sesame seed due to economic problems in Turkey and the fluctuations. And also also another challenges I want to mention, I think that we are talking about all the incentives and the government incentives and etc., but nobody is talking about the social responsibilities that should be done. Because as a tahini manufacturer or any manufacturer who sells the final product to like supermarkets or mainstream supermarkets, we are also audited by ethical problems or the social responsibilities that has been taken into account in farms. That's why, as all of you mentioned, traceability is very important, but I think tracing all of these issues also becoming important because the world is changing and people start to question other social responsibilities, and now there are associations called like SEDEX who's auditing these things, for example, and most of the companies in Europe, they want to know more about farms and how they're taking social responsibilities. So I think it's a good point that we all should think about. Yeah, our role in here is to succeed and continue to improve our service, and also in terms of tahini, we should increase the awareness of tahini in the world, because people, even like in USA, they don't know tahini as tahini, they know it by sesame seed paste. That is why we are thinking of doing innovative products such as like tahini shakes or tahini spreads with pistachio, cheese even, and so many other healthy products that can be done with tahini. And it's becoming a superfood. Tahini is becoming a superfood because of its fibers and all the vitamins that it has inside, and due to the new world that we are in, people becoming more healthy, more health conscious, becoming vegetarian, vegan, and that is why now tahini is also considered as a superfood. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you can always WhatsApp me or email me. I'll be happy to.
Thank you. That was indeed a wonderful presentation from Ms. Elif Narin. Thank you so much. And Rasagra is a classic example in terms of what is a value addition potential of sesame seed. Ms. Elif has to go a little early, so what I would do is that if any of you have any specific questions on her presentation or about Turkey, you may raise your hands, I'll ask my team to come and perhaps one or two questions on what she has presented now. Do we have any questions on Rasagra's presentation? Yes. Please introduce yourself and kindly ask the question.
Hi Elif, it was a wonderful presentation. This is Dhaval from ETG. I want to ask you if you can throw some lights on the tahina export from Turkey to other market like Europe and US. What will be the quantity of the tahina export from Turkey?
I didn't understand the question.
What will be the export number of the tahina out of the Turkey?
This year, I think around 8,000 tons.
8,000.
Yeah.
And if the Turkey export tahina to US, there is a duty factor affected, right?
Yes, that's why we have a factory in USA now operating in Oklahoma City. That is one of the reasons why we speeded up the factory, and it's we are starting to produce this month.
Great. And do you have any idea what is the exact percentage of the duty affected from Turkey to US?
It's 17.9 if I'm not wrong, or 95.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. We have Mr. J. Chandarana, sir. Do you have any questions for our speaker?
Hi Elif, and hello everybody. I just wanted to ask Elif, we keep on hearing that Turkey is becoming a bigger importer, and the reason, one of the bigger reasons for that is Turkey is processing a lot of sesame and then re-exporting it to many other destinations in the world. This could be tahina and halwa, like Dhaval just asked. Would you agree to that? That this is the main reason the Turkish imports are increasing, or is the main reason is the domestic demand is increasing for sesame within Turkey?
Domestic demand is not increasing because of the prices as well, also because of the war in Sudan. Actually, there are different aspects. Because of the war in Sudan, people sent their cargoes to Mersin because it's one of the hubs in the world, yes, like Dubai, because there are so many re-exports from Mersin. So if you look at from that side, war side, yes, there are one of the reasons that has been import to Turkey is the war, which Mersin is the second largest port in Turkey. This is one side, and when you look at the other side, because of this reason, people were expecting prices to go down before the season starts. When the season started, but then the prices didn't go down; it went up. That's why traders had sesame seed and they made good money out of this situation. But manufacturers like us, we start to buy from domestic market because it was also more competitive price than the place. This is also another reason why import also has increased to Turkey. But as a buying, the demand of buying is very conservative because of the prices. People are buying conservatively.
Okay, understood that. And when you say, just to elaborate more on Dhaval's question, do you also see a big change, an increasing trend of exports out of Turkey for tahina and halwa? Do you think that exports are increasing year on year for these products?
Tahini export will always increase because USA is like a eating machine because it's global. It's the amount of consumption in USA is always increasing, and other countries like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, they also have big hummus manufacturers, and it's becoming a trend. So the tahini export will always increase, and also hulled sesame seed to Europe is increased, and there is a big consumption in Europe as well for the hulled sesame seed.
Okay, that's good news for Sesame then. Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for your answers.
Thank you. A big round of applause once again for our first speaker from Turkey, Ms. Elif Narin, for a wonderful beginning for this session. Thank you very much. May I now request Mr. David Buttery to come on the stage and share his thought on the potential of the European Union markets and how to service them. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. Yes, good morning, friends, old and new. I'd like to start by thanking the World Sesame Conference for inviting me to participate and present to you the EU sesame situation. So the first obvious point is the fact that the United Kingdom exited the EU, and the EU is made up of 27 nations with a population of 448 million. As well as imports into the EU, there is a substantial trade in sesame seed within the EU, and circa 30,000 of sesame moves within the EU once imported. So in this slide I want to show you the total EU imports and value over the past 5.5 years. You can see that imports have moved in a range from a high of 145,000 tonnes to a low of 107, which was just last year, 2020. The current year-to-date figure is to June, and so the EU is on schedule to reach more than 110,000 tonnes in 2023, and the value of these imports is over 200 million euros. So which nations are supplying this seed to the EU, and how has its supply changed in recent years? The yellow highlighted areas are the top 8 origins supplied in 2020. The other highlighted area, which is in descending order, for the most recent full year. And there are some big changes. The first observation is that total imports are down 20% in 2022 from the 2020 pre-ETO year. India is no longer in the dominant supplier of the EU, but she remains an important and recovering market share origin. Nigeria has secured most tonnage supplied to the EU 2 years in succession. Turkey, Pakistan, Uganda and Brazil are up at the expense of India, and Mozambique has also moved into the top 8 supplying nations based on tonnage. Average yearly prices per tonne are shown here, but we must remember these prices are a combined average of natural and hulled sesame, as the EU doesn't differentiate. So where is this 100 or so thousand tonnes of seed going? Well, Greece continues to be the largest importer, and top 5 nations, Greece, Germany, Netherlands, Poland and Italy, continue to top the importer list, as they have done for the past 5 years, with over 70% of imports into these countries. So this slide just gives a better visual of how that market is split. Netherlands and Germany combined are of course the gateways into Europe, and Greece with 31,000 tonnes is still top of the league. And here are the origin suppliers, again in order of 2022, with Nigeria top of the table at 12,700 tonnes. This Greek romance with Nigeria goes from strength to strength, and India has gained market share, seeing an increase of 1,000 tonnes despite total Greek imports falling in 2022. Turkey and Ethiopia saw the biggest reductions since 2021 in the Greek market. This year I've decided to combine the German and the Dutch imports, as both represent the gateways to Northern Europe. Once again, total imports are down 12,000 tonnes from the 52,000 of 2022 and 2021. India's dominant position as largest supplier to Netherlands and Germany, for as long as we can remember, has been lost, and the beneficiaries are Uganda, Pakistan and Brazil. Previously, pre-ETO, 50% of imports to Germany, Netherlands, came from just two nations, India and Nigeria. Now, 6 nations share 50%. The post-COVID and the fallout from war has caused lots of turmoil throughout the market. We saw a spike in demand in 2021, with tonnages reaching 144,000 into Europe. We've all suffered freight costs, I'm sure, during the past 2 years, but largely speaking, freights have corrected and seem to have been settled for lower levels now. The year-to-year tonnage up to June shows an almost exactly 50% of 2022 volumes. We're now seeing the impact of the cost of living crisis, and government attempts to reduce inflation have largely meant rising interest rates. And with household EU debt now at $7.2 billion, rising interest rates in Europe will surely dampen demand further. Sesame is a food, and the EU regulates food. Sesame is indeed subject to official controls reserved for high-risk foods. If you're currently exporting to the EU, you will know these regulations, and if you're thinking of exporting to the EU, please take the time to get familiar with these regs and the demands of the EU market before you ship. Please also remember that if you're planning to re-export to other nations raw material from which you've imported, please know what you've purchased and whether it will be compliant with your destination market. All food sold in the UK and the EU must comply with UK regulations. Many people have asked me whether the whether the UK are now operating to different standards, but we are not. The EU has left the UK, the UK has left the EU, and member states have border controls and marketplace checks. Where cargoes or products breach EU regulations, the member states issue rapid alerts. These are shared via the EU Rapid Alert System for Food and Feed, known as RABS. The portal address is shown at the bottom, and here is a screenshot just of yesterday, where 113 notifications relating to sesame seed in just the 8-month period of Jan to August are shown. The most common failures and breaches of regulation are for pesticide, salmonella, and most recently documentary or certificate failures. Please save yourself the headaches and ship compliant product to the EU. Many of you will be familiar with Ben Stokes, an English cricketer, but he helps us and reminds us what the EU is looking for. in safe and compliant food that grows our market organically and is kind to the environment, ethically produced from sustainable sources. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. David Buttery, for a wonderful presentation. Two things which come out very clearly. Nigeria has gained share, and as shown in the rapid alert, Nigeria is also coming in, like, a recent attack of salmonella. We will take more questions towards the end of it. Please do stay with us. We go to the next presenter. May I request Mr. Taichi Abe-san from Mitsui and Company to kindly give us an overview of the Japanese market and the expectations from the buyers in Japan. Thank you very much, Ms. Elif. We do understand you have a flight to catch. Thank you so much.
I didn't want to just like pop out, but sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May I request you kindly, come on stage, and then if may I request you to please come on stage? Yeah, because we would do the honor of presenting the memento with you to you. Yeah, sure. Just a minute, Mr. Taichi. Just 1 minute.
Sorry.
Over to you, sir.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So today, I'm glad to be here to explain about Japanese market. So my name is Taichi Abe from Mitsui and Company, which is one of the largest trading houses in Japan. And Mitsui is an investor of ETG and Kadoya Mills Oils, which is the biggest sesame player all over the world. So let's begin. First, I'm going to talk about the 2022 Japanese import volume. The import volume in 2022 was 179,000 metric ton, which is the average normal volume of Japanese import. And Japan imported sesame of 151,000 metric ton in 2021, which is less than a normal volume. The background is that Japan imported more than 200,000 metric ton of sesame in 2020. So as a reaction to 2020, the quantity of import in 2021 has decreased largely. So as you can see, Japan heavily rely on African countries like Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Tanzania, Mozambique. So next, I'm going to talk about 2023 Japanese import volume as of June. So import volume in the first half of 2023 was 97,000 metric ton, which is 2,000 metric ton higher than last year. The quantity of import from Nigeria and Pakistan has decreased because of the quality issue and agri-chemical residue issues. Now Japan is shifting to Burkina Faso from Nigeria because it said Burkina Faso has less risk of agri-chemical residue issue. But unfortunately, Japan cannot afford to pay a much premium to Burkina Faso. So next slide is about the outlook of 2023. Yeah, please note, this is just outlook, this is just forecast. So I cannot have a responsibility for this number. So the expected import volume in 2023 is around 160,000 tons, which is 2,000 tons less than 20,000 tons less than last year. Japanese sesame seed players are very conservative about buying sesame seeds right now, due to the depreciation of Japanese yen, and the raw material itself is relatively higher price than usual year. Also, there is a certain demand in Japan, especially for oil. Actually, during the pandemic period, the consumption of sesame oil in Japan has increased dramatically because sesame oil is one of the healthy oil in Japan, and the Japanese consumers recognize the taste of sesame oil is very good during COVID time. And but unfortunately, the import volume will probably decrease this year compared with last year. So talking about the crushing rate, again, Japan has recently suffered from the quality issue and the agri-chemical residue issues, especially from Nigeria. So again, Japan is shifting from safer origins like Burkina Faso. So talking about edible, so Japan has bought edible sesame from Paraguay, Guatemala, Ethiopia, and Mozambique a lot so far. But the price of Paraguay and Guatemala was high for last 2 years, and there was no enough stock from Ethiopia. So Japan is now relying on Mozambique sesame seed recently. Japan has tried to find new supply sources like Pakistan, but unfortunately we have faced issues like color seed and aflatoxins and agri-chemical residue issue. So unfortunately it's not easy to shift from the current origin to new origin. So next slide is about the US dollar Japanese yen exchange. As you can see, Japanese yen is becoming weaker and weaker. So Japanese yen based import unit price can be record high in 2023. So our customers are very suffering from the high price. Yes. So Japanese players are very conservative about buying sesame right now. Next, I'm going to talk about sesame oil export volume. Japan exports sesame oil of about 9,000 metric tons annually. The main market is US. Since 2016, the export quantity has increased dramatically because the number of Japanese restaurants in foreign countries has increased, and poke, a Hawaiian dish for which sesame oil is used, become a major meal in the world. As you know, the Japanese population has been decreasing dramatically. So Japanese maker like Kadoya have to expand expand export business to grow their business. So next slide is about challenges Japan is facing. Yeah, so sorry for asking you many requests. Yeah, as you know, Japan is very strict. But yes, first point is agrichemical residue issues, yeah, which is most important things and most serious problem we are facing now. Again, Japan is very strict on agrichemical residue. So, yeah, in addition to Japanese government testing, each trading house, like us and Sesame-related companies, like Ghazwan voluntarily does agrichemical residue testing at the time of the arrival of cargo before import in Japan. So after we confirm the safety, then we can proceed to the import process, import customs. The number of detection has been increasing dramatically, especially after the pandemic started. From this kind of situation, the Sesame Import Committee of Japan Oil and Fat Import and Export Association, we call JOFEIA, where Japanese trading houses which handle sesame seed belong to. So, and JOFEIA reviews the high risk of items of agrichemical residue as per another slide. Yeah, this slide. So, JOFEIA reviews the high risk of items, and we newly set A, A-, and B. In accordance with the degree of the high risk of the each item's risk. A is must item for testing for all origin, and A- is a must item for testing, but it depends on the origin. B is a recommended item for testing. The second point is quality issues. The number of quality issues like FFA, oil contents, and the mixture has been increasing. This is also after the pandemic started, especially in Nigeria, Pakistan. Most of Japanese players, customers claim compensation for the difference between the contract price, contract specification, and the actual test result conducted in Japan. If FFA is too much, yeah, we cannot use it for sesame oil. So, yeah, even sieve bug sometimes can happen. Our request to suppliers to pay attention to quality control more. The third point is color seed issues. So, yeah, the picture. And the coating seed. The detection of color seeds, coating seed is very big issue, especially for edible players. Color seed have been found from cargoes of Tanzania, Mozambique, Nigeria, and Pakistan so far. So we'd like to request you educate farmers not to mix color seed with the harvest. Yeah, some farmer mix color seed with harvest to gain more money. So yeah, please educate farmer not to mix. The first point is the contamination of foreign substances. The contamination of foreign substances like knives, balls, and even radios sometimes happened recently. Yeah, this problem would happen when you pack So yeah, this could be a human error, so please pay attention. So, and the fifth point is PP bag issues. The positive list system for food utensils, containers, and packing has been enforced since 2020. So the safest way is to use a white plain PP bag without tag, without design, without color. And the sixth point is a freight issue. Yeah, I think not only Japan but also other countries are facing this issue. Yeah, many costs like demurrage, tension, and container and replacement and cleaning are being charged to us from shipping line. So yeah, please try to get free time for demurrage and tension as much as possible. And please use clean containers. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you so much for your attention. So if you have any question, please don't contact me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a very, very detailed presentation. I hope in the audience we have sufficient number of delegation from Pakistan and Nigeria. To be very specific, I am taking these two origins because they were very specific request to do these origins. Thank you very much, sir. We will take the questions towards the end of it. Thank you very much. We now request Mr. Mihir Parmar to share us some overview of the South Korean sesame market and perhaps give some insights into the government tender based buying systems there.
Yeah, hello. Good day everyone. My name is Mihir Parmar. I am partner at Mamta Commodities, and today we are going to look at South Korean sesame seeds market and some trends and outlook along with it. In this presentation today I am going to cover these all topics, which would cover demand, import origins, import patterns, Korean tender, supply chain, and trends and outlook regarding the sesame seeds market in South Korea. So first, let us look at demand of South Korea. South Korea consumes around 100,000 metric tons in a year, and it has a population of around 51 million people, which makes it one of the highest per capita consumer of sesame seeds anywhere in the world. And the local crop is usually very less over there. It's just close to 10,000 or even below that. So to cover up rest of the quantity which is required, they import heavily in South Korea. And most of the import happens by the official means, official import under the quota, and some unofficial hand carry means are also used to import into South Korea. So usually there is a very high duty on the imports to South Korea without a quota. It's 630% of the import value, CIF discharge value they charge if you import into South Korea without a quota. And under a quota, it's around 40%. The local prices for sesame seed in South Korea is highest of anywhere in the world. It would be around, let's say, $8 to $9 a kg. So it's that high in South Korea. So other than these figures, even broken sesame seeds are imported into South Korea. These does not attract such high duty and are used for oil crushing in a South Korean market. So as you can see on the screen, these are the top import origins of South Korea. And as you can see, India and China are the main players in the exporting sesame seeds to South Korea. India mainly due to their good hulling and sorting facilities and competitive prices. And China has a FTA quota with South Korea, which facilitates easy import into South Korea for them. And India and China together makes up for around 75% of the whole import into South Korea, but rest of the markets are also emerging. We can see African countries like Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Sudan, Mozambique also entering the market, as well as Asian countries like Pakistan also supplying in the recent years heavily to South Korea. So import into South Korea happens through the three main channels. That's the government tender, the Chinese FTA free trade agreement, and the private quota. So the breakdown of each is given on the screen, out of which the tender makes up for the 60% of the total import into South Korea. And these are the breakdowns for those three channels. As you can see, like in, let's say, 2022, South Korea imported around 56,000 tons via the import tender quota, import tender. The FTA via the China was around 24,000 metric tons, and 13,000 tons was by the private quota. This year there is a drastic fall in the, what you can say, procurement from the South Korean government due to budgetary issues and high prices of sesame. And the quota auctions also have been very unsuccessful this year because of low interest of private players. So AT is the government company, government-owned company, which is established for stabilizing prices of sesame seeds and controlling the stockpile in South Korea. And they are responsible for controlling all three channels of import. So basically you can say like AT controls the whole South Korean sesame seeds market, and how much sesame seed would come into South Korea each year, and how much consumption would be there. Everything is determined by AT actually. And they mainly import two different varieties by the government tender. That includes high quality and the general quality. The specs of which are given on the screen. These are Sortex quality, which they use for making oil as well as for edible grade use. And a recent trend has been that they are preferring to import more of a general quality rather than high quality sesame seeds. On this slide, we can see the whole South Korean supply chain at a glance. Here we can see all the three channels together. If we look at the government tender flow, then it's then in that AT procures sesame seeds from the overseas supplier, distributes it to the branch offices, which sells the sesame seeds exclusively to the sesame seeds processing industry. For the rest of the two channels, the sesame seeds are imported by private firms and sold to the sesame seeds processing factories, as well as for wholesale and retail markets. So South Korea is a very stable market. They don't export a lot of sesame out of Korea. They don't process and export or anything like that. So the consumption has been reached at a saturation level, and overall the import volumes are likely to remain at what you can say pretty much stable volumes, with slight chances to for growth as well. In the recent year, we have seen like there have been other East Asian countries, like mature markets like EU and Japan. They have also become more strict with their norms regarding to food safety, and that obviously what you can say introduces some challenges for the suppliers who are supplying to the tender. So extra precaution has to be taken for that to supply to the South Korean market. And because of very fluctuating prices in sesame in the past few months, we have seen like new origins are getting interested like with what you can say in supplying to South Korean market, with processing capacities and investments growing in lesser developed markets. With better sorting facilities, they are also capable to supply to the South Korean market. And that's it for my presentation on the South Korean market. I'll be happy to discuss with any of you regarding it after the presentation. Thank you, and thanks a lot for the organizers as well. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mihir, for a wonderful and yet very comprehensive overview about South Korean market. We go to the last speaker who is present here with us, Mr. Ghazwan. He will talk about the fascinating market of Egypt, which includes the market for sesame seed as well as the various value-added products that comes out of Egypt.
Hello everybody, it's nice to see you all. Thank you for having me here. Egypt is a very interesting market. However, there's many attributes we have to put into effect. Okay, are we ready? Egyptian markets and added value insight. Okay, Egyptian market is an average of about 135,000 tons plus. Mostly it's divided for demand side. They like the red sesame or mixed. 20% is whitish and only 10% is premium Gadarif or Humaira or Sortex premium. And most of it is going to tahini, halwa and oil. When we say halwa, then also with the bakery. The growth in demand, on average, is between 8 and 10% because of the population. The population of Egypt is around 125 million plus. The average increase is around 5% per year, but this will see some changes we will talk about. One of the main changes is that the population of Egypt is increasing with expats from Sudanese, and both living and operating and going back and forth to Sudan because of the situation. And most of the surge is already coming in the sesame oil, because the Sudanese consume sesame oil as their main oil for their dishes, and they consume the pure sesame oil. They know their sesame oil very well. Where is the sesame coming from? 30 to 35,000 is the local harvest, which is starting now. They have a decent sesame seed, however, decent in color, shape and taste, but chemical residue is a big problem in Egypt. And at the same time, they re-export their golden sesame seeds to Algeria, Tunisia, and to Turkey for reasons of giving the Turkish population the Sudanese golden and keeping the Turkish golden for re-exports. How does it come into Egypt? 35,000 is coming from Sudan via port with legit routes, and a staggering number of 35,000 comes in via trucks. That number is derived from 3 to 4 trucks daily at an average weight of truck of 40 tons. When I mean trucks, it means just farmers stacking on truck, and it's coming through the borders and without documentation. Chad, Nigeria and other origins are increasing. Last year they had a good amount of Chad, Nigeria coming in for around 7 to 10,000 metric tons. India is still their favorite hulled sesame. They love the white color. They like the idea of the shiny, white, fat-looking sesame seed from India hulling. So it is still the pioneer. They don't know what else to judge it for except for its color for the bakery. But Egypt is a very sensitive market, and the shifts of the demand does not happen because does not reduce, but they use alternatives, like for example for tahini and halwa. I will explain later. They have known additives to the population which is allowed. Other destinations, Paraguay, Brazil, and the like, is a good sesame seed. I have nothing against it, but in Egypt they still perceive it as 3rd or 4th grade. But in my opinion, it's just because of the time it takes for sesame to arrive. They are used to a very convenient neighbor where they get their sesame in 15 days. Demand forecast. The local consumption, as I mentioned, will never go down. It is part of their culture, it is part of their food, so they will always have a steady demand. Now, because of the Sudanese population, there will be oil, the sesame oil consumption will increase because there's around 300,000 Sudanese living or operating from Cairo or Egypt. And because they like the pure sesame seeds, so they are teaching also the Egyptians what real sesame oil tastes like. Re-export trends. Raw sesame re-export or export is not and will not be competitive, unfortunately. This is a very big problem in Egypt because of financial and economical rules and regulations, which I will discuss in the next slide. However, added value products will be exported, and there will be a big push because people need foreign dollars coming in and export proceeds. So tahini halwa to Sudan is one of the main destinations because pre-existing factories of Sudan are operating from Egypt, and they will be sending ready produce to Sudan either in bulk or in private label or in supermarket regular names. Okay, quality. In Egypt, quality is a problem because of cost. They like to mix and match sesame seeds. And before we go into that, I wanted to explain when they import, now the government is inspecting Salmonella, E. coli, not so much pesticides, but the barrier of importation is still high for Sudanese traders to use the regular channels, so that's why they prefer the truck. But if you are a manufacturer, then it's easier because then you can claim that you're going to hull, wash, roast, heat treat, and then they allow you to bring in Salmonella, E. coli infected sesame seeds. The government policy that is being put on the importation is also increasing the imports via the land truck importation, but it is $60 to $80 more expensive. It's not that it's easier, less restrictions, but it's still $60 to $80 more expensive to bring it in via trucks. Production norms in Egypt, tahini is a very important part of the diet. However, they accept that tahini is added with 20% peanut paste or even pre-boiled broken rice or maize. And it's not perceived as cheat or anything, it's just to reduce the cost of 1 kg of tahini. This hinders the exports to advanced EU markets and US and Canada, but at the same time manufacturers can make two different products for local and for export. And also for hulling, they still use old strategies of drying, sometimes as simple as sun-dried or the oven drying system, which does affect the quality of the sesame because of the humidity not evenly distributed between the heart of the sesame and the skin. And the impact of external factors. The foreign currency laws, any exports that is done from Egypt needs to be financed by pre-export foreign dollars, which is a huge impact on the prices of sesame. I'll give it to you in a brief. Anytime you want to import or export sesame seeds, there's a 3 to 4% extra cost due to black market exchange rates. So when you see today the price in Egypt at 2,300 or 2,350 or 2275, you always have to consider there is a 3% minimum that is not going to the seller or the buyer, that is just going to facilitate the movement of the currency due to the export proceeds laws and regulations. For manufacturing, they have some ease, which is only to 30, 60, 90 days deferred payment is allowed. But for traders, you will need to use export proceeds to import sesame seeds. On consumption, it will not affect as much but it will affect the re-export of raw sesame seeds, which used to come in from Sudan and re-exported. So for exports to come in from Sudan and to move on, that will not be happening easily. Most importantly, most of our friends also mentioned this, is the farming practices. Either in Egypt or anywhere in the world, we are having problems, and the problems will increase if we do not educate the farmer on pesticides, herbicides, and its impact. We will be ending up with a majority of sesame seeds not being able to be re-exported to AU and US markets. Sudan, we talked about it, but I just want to give a few points. Sudan is a great country, and I hope it will get back on track. I've lived there for the majority of my past 15 years. Operations are moving forward in Port Sudan with difficulties. There will be shortage of sifting facilities, but at the same time, local traders have the incentive to overprice because of all the difficulties they are going through. The new season does exist, and at worst case scenario, it is 60% of what it was last year. I'm not going to go into the numbers, but whatever number you believe in, 60% is coming. Added value for existing clients. Leno Golf has evolved into added value products such as hot sesame seeds, roasted, washed and dried and roasted, tahini and sesame oil in bulk, B2B, which we realize that the future will be in synergy, where clients, instead of importing, for example, into the EU, raw sesame seeds and having to pay extra for the wastage and goes through the restrictions, we have shifted into where we can supply them with a semi-finished products where they can add value. And lastly, what we are also expanding into, we have a company called Jasmine Trades, where we will be introducing suppliers and buyers by invitation only, where they can actually know the real supplier and buyers can know the real, suppliers know the real buyer and buyer knows the real supplier, into a community such as what we are in now. This is in general my point of view from Egypt and the surrounding. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ghazwan, for a very detailed presentation on Egypt. With this, we come to the end of formal presentations. Over to you, Mr. J. You can have questions for all the. You have been listening to all the presentations. Now you can start.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll start with a question for David. You know, we from your presentation we saw a big fall from 2021 to 2022 for various factors highlighted by you. Do you think we can go back to 145 in the near future, David?
Thank you, Jay. So far, for the year to date, up to June 2023, we've seen EU imports reach around 52,000 tonnes. So we're heading towards around 110,000 tonnes for the year of 2023. Prospects for 24, hopefully we'll see some recovery from economic downturns, which could generate more demand for sesame and other commodities.
Okay, thank you. And could you could highlight some points about the quality which you are importing from other destinations? The EU is importing from other destinations. We saw a lot of countries on that list which are exporting more because of the issue with Indian sesame, which happened 3 years ago. How are those origin qualities in comparison to India? Because we now see that the Indian sesame is growing in market share. Do you think it is because of the pricing or because of the quality aspects of Indian sesame?
Well, certainly India has reacted to the ETA crisis by implementing significant changes within the local industry and facilitating exports and regaining some confidence within the EU marketplace. The ETO period did open the door to other nations, and now India has competition for the EU market that previously it dominated.
Okay, and what would you say, are there other issues with regards to quality when it comes to other origins, or now EU is just selecting the importing depending on the pricing which is available in the market?
Yeah, so 2 points there really. One, the EU has identified certain origins for increased checks at borders, and so this is a factor in the purchase decision. But also Indian pricing will be a determining factor for the EU marketplace to purchase. But I think it's important for India to remember that the growth in other origins into the EU market looks here to stay.
Thank you, Mr. David. A question for Mr. Ghazwan. With the consumption of sesame seed products rising across the world, do you think Egypt can become a processing and export hub for these value-added products? If you could highlight the opportunities and barriers for this happening.
Thank you. It's a very nice question, very good question. Yes, I do believe in Egypt. Egypt, manufacturing-wise, has very good energy, has 2 ports, Mediterranean and the Red Sea. They have a very good hub for investors, and they are forcing exports for trade and for manufacturing to exist. The quality problems are being addressed very fast due to their need to export to more demanding markets. Indian sesame seeds is very important for them locally. For the bakery, they like the color, but due to the importation difficulties, the local manufacturers are getting their gear up to do better and implement better technologies and better practices and get certifications. The local plantation is good, but it is pesticide and herbicide infested, which I don't believe it will be easy to switch, but manufacturing imports for re-export will see a boom. It will be a hub. From my personal experience with my factory, I do see more appetite in the past year than the year before in export requests from local traders that want to buy locally and re-export. So yes, Egypt is a decent hub for investment and manufacturing for imports and re-exports.
Thank you, Mr. Ghazwan. Next question I would like to ask is Mr. Taichi. Mr. Taichi, in your presentation and in the general market scenario, we see that chemical residues remain the largest issue for the Japanese demand. And with pesticide usage also slowly increasing in African origins, how do you see the future of Japanese imports?
Yeah, as you said, yeah, we are facing a lot of issue of pesticide. So yeah, it's a very serious issues. So yeah, we have to find new supply sources which has low risk of pesticide, and but of course the current origins are important for us, and without current origin we cannot do sesame business. So yeah, we need suppliers cooperation. Yeah, of course, We understand it's very tough, but we need your cooperation support. So please, kindly educate farmers to handle the agri-chemical properly. That's our request.
Mr. Taichi, you said that Japan cannot pay too much premium for Burkina Sesame. So, how price elastic is the demand in Japan for sesame seeds? You know, with you, you told us that the second half imports are expected to reduce significantly because of the high prices and the exchange rate. But do you see also the demand decreasing because of that, or just the imports?
Yeah, demand is there in Japan, but Japan is very conservative about buying sesame because of the high price. But of course, there's a demand in Japan, so the Japanese customers have to shift the cost of raw materials to final products. So they are trying to increase the price of final product. So if they can succeed, then we can afford to pay premium price.
Okay, thank you very much. My next question would be to Mihir. Mihir, coming to the South Korean market, would you by chance be having any number on the sesame seed powder quantity imported into South Korea? Any idea for this?
Hello. Yeah, Jada, very nice question about that. So the quantity would be close to 40 to 50,000 metric tons of just the powder. So that's puts what you can say overall sesame plus sesame oil consumption in South Korea close to 140-150,000 metric tons actually. So mainly the powdering, they have a FTA with Vietnam, and it goes under a different HS code from Vietnam to South Korea, and that's how the trade takes place. The main reason for making it into a powder is that it cannot be what you can say sold for any other use. It cannot be used for bakery, or it cannot be used for anything else. It has to be used for oil crushing only.
And from your presentation, I saw that the TRQ and the FTA quota demand was significantly less this year, and we are already into September with only 4 months to go. Normally, South Korea will need to import 90,000 tons of demand, other than what they're importing for sesame seed powder. You think that the procurement tender quantity will have to increase to mitigate that shortfall? What do you see in that regards?
I think so. Like they are covered for demand till November. Let's say what you can say mid-November. So till that time, that's the deadline for the previous tender. Okay, so till that time they are still receiving the cargo. They are planning to what you can say float a 2,000 metric ton small tender for arrival close to 20th of December for this year. But it's not for sure. Plus they are facing some budgetary issues, like each year they have a, what you can say fixed budget for importing the sesame seeds. But this year, since the prices are high, they cannot import as much as they want to. So maybe for the next year, 2024 imports, they might start with a higher quantity of import. Like let's say they will float 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 metric ton tender, instead of like this year. At the start of this year, they floated a 6,000 metric ton. So because they are short on stocks, they might float a bigger tender, is what I think. Plus that time also would be convenient, because West African crop would be in the market, Indian crop would be in the market, Pakistan would still have stocks left. So that would also be a good time for South Korea to make some purchases.
So all in all, we see 20-25,000 tons of latent demand, which because it's not being fulfilled this year because of the TRQ and FTA quota shortfalls to come in early in next year for South Korea. Would that assumption be correct?
Yeah, I think so. And they are still trying for what you can say the FTA and TRQ quotas. The private quotas have been like failing for like past 2-3 rounds. They are still floating another round of TRQ. Maybe they reduce the quota option prices, and that could fulfill the quota and encourage the importers to make purchases.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Mihir. Next question for Mr. Ghazwan. We keep on hearing about the currency issue, Mr. Ghazwan, in Egypt. Foreign exchange controls are really heavy right now, as already you highlighted. Can you educate us about how bad is the situation, and do you see the situation normalizing so with regards to the currency?
Mr. J, the situation cannot be identified as in bad, but the way that we should see it as the new norm. Because Egypt has a big population, and before 2-3 years the trading had a huge gap. Egypt is giving a lot of incentives for manufacturing, giving a lot of loans, no interest loans for its population to enhance and encourage local production. And at the same time, the importation laws were very loose. You'd go into a supermarket, if you want to buy something as simple as water, you will see 5-6 local production water brands and another 20 imported water brands. So this was a big financial drain, and they realized that the whole world economy is heading to a very messy place. So immediately they banned, they didn't want to ban imports. They banned, or they do not allow imports to happen from local currency or local dollars. They told the traders, you're welcome, keep doing what you want to do. However, if you want to import, then you have to use your export proceed dollars to do it. And this came too fast. It was harsh, but in my opinion, they had no other way to do it. Closing the tap immediately was the way to keep some control on the devaluation of the currency. So imports are allowed. You're free to import, but you need your export dollars to allow you to import. Okay, this is very harsh on local small traders, but middle and bigger traders will find a way to do it. We're finding ways to do it for free, even to take local produce and to export it to friends, like barter trade. Manufacturing wise, they are giving some leniency for food products and medical products, so they can keep their manufacturing practices going. But the situation today is not worse than it was 4 or 5 months ago. There is some kind of normalcy on how to operate, and I think soon enough they have allowed the currency to float, but in a controlled way. Last year, this time, $1 US was at 15 Egyptian pounds, both black-white markets. Today, $1 is at 30 Egyptian pounds bank rate. However, it is at $40 or 40 Egyptian pounds in the black market rate. They're trying to close that gap, and for the past 4 months, it has been stagnant, floating at on the same level. So they are getting closer to the real exchange rate. If they do pump in dollars into the economy and float the dollar, it will reach 36, 37, 38 levels and stabilize. So we are at the end of the storm. It is harsh for the local economy, harsh for the poor societies. Everything is getting expensive. But I do believe they are working on some kind of goal. It's not completely erratic regulations. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, thank you very much. We see issues with regards to Indian exports into Egypt because of this 90-day payment term that you highlighted. That is the reason for this question, but we can understand that this is here to stay. Mr. David, would you have an idea about which origins are predominantly supplying natural sesame seeds to the EU? As in your presentation, we could see the average prices, but as you highlighted, it was for both natural and hard sesame seeds.
Yes, thank you, Joe. I think Nigeria and Uganda are dominating the natural marketplace in the EU. One of my slides did show the Greek imports, and of course there's a lot of natural seed heading into Greece amongst its 30-something thousand tonnes. So I think the African nations have growing importance in the EU in its raw material of natural seed. Uganda, Ethiopia saw a decline in recent years. And I think there's opportunities for other nations now also. Pakistan looks like it will have a good crop. Whether it will be compliant with EU regs, we have to see, batch by batch. So a wider pool of exporting nations providing the EU imports for natural.
Okay, Mr. David. One last question for you, Mr. David. Is there any significant change in regulations for imports for other countries? We're having for India, I think 50% for residues and for salmonella and 20% for residues. Is there any change in regulations recently, which is for other origins into EU?
Yes, in my presentation I listed the regulations that are currently in play for sesame imports, and the high-risk origins have been identified for increased controls. That includes Uganda and Sudan. Nigeria also added with health certificate demands. So yes, as the EU conducts wider testing and there are multiple origins, the data pool is improving, and that is directing the EU regulations.
Thank you, Mr. David. My last question for Mr. Ghazwan. You highlighted that the import numbers from Sudan are around 70,000 tons. And Chad 7 to 10,000 tons. But what would be the import numbers from other origins, like for example India or other origins across the world?
The importations from Sudan are dominant and will always stay dominant, both via truck and via seaport. Now more because of their existence on the ground in Cairo offices. The importation from other destinations, Chad, Nigeria, I combined together. India saw a surge this year. I think I mentioned it on text, didn't talk about it. Saw a surge during the beginning of the season. India season had very favorable prices, but mostly in Hull. Some quantities were purchased. I got some quantities, and many of my friends as well I got for them. But the importance of India will always be there for Egyptian markets in Hull. The cultural belief and their past experience with India is positive. They like Indian traders and they like the Indian sesame, and India is also very active in exports of agro products from Egypt. So there will be always a growth from India in the Hull sesame seeds. For raw, not so much, I believe, due to the perception that all Indian is double-skinned. They still say, oh, India is hard to hull, oh, India is hard to hull. It will get better, but when the prices are favorable, they will find a way to even hull triple skin.
Yeah, I really hope that with a lot of sesame seed shipments moving into Egypt because of the good summer crop we had, these apprehensions can be removed. Although, if you could put a would you be able to put a number into other sesame seed origin imports like 8,000, 10,000, 15,000? Would you have a number for that, just for the knowledge of the crowd here?
Yes, from India, I believe not less than 8,000 tons has been imported in the past 4 months, both hulled and raw. At least 8,000 tons is coming from India.
Thank you, Mr. Ghazwan. I think Srivatsava, we can have questions from the crowd, and then we can. I'll
Sure.
close the session.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we open the floor for questions. If there are any, Rajik, please. Kindly introduce yourself and keep the questions short.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Joseph Mzunda from Tanzania. My question is to David. We have seen through the presentation that the importation in the UK is dropping. So I just want to know what is the future for importation of this, and what could be the main reason, and I think if there will be any need to open for new imports, or any other countries would you be willing to open from other countries out of those mentioned, like in Tanzania? Yeah.
Thank you for the question. I think we'd all like to know the future, but let's first understand really that the EU market suffered or experienced a high stock level in 2021 with 144,000 tons of import. So we began with a sizable stock. The current year, 2022, with 110,000 tons, looks to be recovering from a high stock position, but also a reduction in consumption. 2023 year to date is heading to the same sort of number, around 110, 115,000 tons. So we're seeing 2 consecutive years of close numbers. So I think the economic climate is a key factor to what will happen with consumption in the EU market, but also interest rates will drive stock level controls within European marketplace. So I think origins with speedy shipments may see an increase in demand. I hope that answers your question.
Hello. Hi, David. Another question for you. Tell me that ever since IOP EPC has implemented the conditions that were required by the EU Commission, Jay would have the data, I think, and Kushwan Bhai here is here. I think we are practically down to 0 in terms of ETO. Do you see in the near future that EU gets us down to, let's say, 20% for the EU for the ETO inspection? And a follow-up question on that is, has the customer confidence increased after the steps that India has taken, and does that play to our advantage in the coming future when and whenever the prices in India stabilize and we are very price competitive?
Okay, thank you, Merkel, for that question. A hot potato, maybe. Yes, the number of ETO notifications through the border controls have reduced dramatically. In fact, I think I only saw 1 out of that 119 that I showed earlier. So a big step forward, and it clearly shows that the efforts that the Indian Sesame community have directed have achieved results. Indian supply to the EU seems to be recovering, currently in second place to Nigeria in the current year, with around 10,000 tons, and Nigeria at 14,000. But that 10,000 tons already is showing an increase for 2023 above 22 and above 21. So there is a pattern developing.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Habib Khanani from Silk Road. My question is for Mr. Taichi Abe. We've always heard that sesame seed oil is the secret to the health of the Japanese, and we would like to believe that, being sesame seed traders. But given the current increases in price and the availability of palm oil, canola oil, soybean oil, is sesame seed oil considered a luxury or a health option, or is it still considered the primary option for the Japanese?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. In Japan, sesame seed cannot be replaced with other oils. So sesame oil is sesame oil. In Japan, there is a certain demand for sesame oil. Sesame oil is considered recognized as premium oil. The price of other oil has been increasing recently, and the gap between other oil and sesame oil has been decreasing. So Japanese people, so many Japanese people are shifting from other oil to sesame oil, and especially during COVID time, Japanese people recognize sesame oil is very tasty and healthy. We believe Japanese people will continuously consume sesame oil steadily. Yes, I hope I could answer against your question.
Hello, thank you of all presentation. My question, your Japan grace on South Korea. I see all the presentation, the Japan grace in South Korea don't import the sesame in Chad. But my country produce more quantity of the quality sesame. But why do you know import in Chad? What is the very problem?
In my understanding, Chad sesame seed is exported to Turkey as a premium product. Chad sesame has a good taste and a sweeter taste. So yes, that's a reason. Price. Yeah. So you mean price of chado is higher than other origins like Nigeria, and Turkey can pay premium to chado origin, but still Japan not.
Okay, I have a question too. Sorry, my name is Kamaldin Raji from Nigeria. From all the indications from the presentation from everyone on the table, it seems the problem with Africa or Nigeria sesame is related to two things: pesticide, and which later grow into salmonella and others. But on the list of all the pesticide that were listed from all agronomy across the world, those are still the pesticide recommended for the production and cultivation of sesame. Is there a new technology, an active ingredient that is acceptable, or is there a better agronomy that is just discovered to at least to reduce the unnecessary overdose of whatever is being used? Probably this is related to active ingredient or buying wrongly from the supplier or something. Can anybody recommend the best approach agronomy to best active ingredient or pesticide to be used that is acceptable to Japan, that is acceptable to EU, so that this friendship or collaboration can just continue? Thank you.
Hello. Hello, my question to Mr. Taichi.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment back on that most recent question. Thank you. Earlier this morning we saw a fabulous presentation from Burkina Faso that showed some of the developments happening at farm level, at grower level, and we've seen also how the export volumes from Burkina Faso have been increasing to the premium market of Japan. I would recommend having a discussion with the earlier speaker this morning to help you with that.
My question to Mr. Taichi. I am Ghazwan Jain, immediate past chairman of Indian Oil and Oil Produce Export Promotion Council India. My question that India's sesame seed export to EU countries, this is one system implemented on real-time basis. There is all sesame shipment to EU is tested by more than 600 pesticides as per the EU requirement along with ETO and Salmonella. How you feel that same system will be implemented for the Japan and the Indian sesame seed pre-shipment, all the cargo tested in India, and as per the Japan requirement, the condition of the pesticides, how you feel that Indian sesame can be exported to Japan? How possibility you find for the Indian sesame seed? As you mentioned, you are having the problem with all the world, all the countries for the pesticide. Why not India can be export to Japan?
Thank you for your question. Yeah, Japan faced the agrichemical residue issue from Indian sesame seed maybe 20 years ago, and from that time we voluntarily suspended to import sesame from India. But nowadays, everywhere, every country has pesticide issues, many from African countries. And yeah, we know, Japan knows India is one of the biggest sesame production area. So we cannot ignore India. So yeah, we are trying to restart import sesame from India. And yeah, actually we have we are discussing how Indian players, Indian suppliers, but unfortunately still the agrichemical is detected from Indian sesame seed when we try to restart. But yeah, we try to continuously try to restart import from India. Yeah, because India is a big country for sesame world. Thank you.
Hello, my question is to Mr. David. Mr. David, can you please let us know what will be the organic sesame import quantity into the EU? And if you can bifurcate like natural and hard, and who will be the dominating origin for that as of now?
Thank you, Dhaval. EU stats are not differentiating between conventional and organic, so there isn't any specific data available from that agency. Anecdotally, I can tell you that Holland is the largest importer of organic and primarily natural seed. Organic hulled, there is a market for it, and during the period of ETO crisis, it became a very popular alternative. More recently, demand for organic hulled has subsided. So I hope that answers your question.
Final question, sir.
Thank you. So this time an easier question to you, Mr. Abhisan. So as you also mentioned that the Japan exports is done well of the sesame oil. And Japan has been more than 100 years the history of producing sesame oil. Most of the sesame oil companies are more than 100 years. So is this now the opportunity for them to expand into other geographies and set up a processing base? So we'll see more Japanese company producing sesame oil outside of Japan in the near future?
Yes, I think there is a possibility. And yeah, in order to make product competitive price, yeah, setting up at the foreign countries can be a solution. And of course, our customers have a option, and they are considering right now to make their product competitive, to expand their business, and not only to USA but also to other countries.
Last question for Mihir. Mihir, do you believe that you mentioned the powder exports out of Vietnam has already reached 40 to 50,000 tons, and that is inhibiting kind of the private quota business for AT, and we've seen that, and you also mentioned that the private quota is unused and they are trying to. So do you feel there is a threat for AT to limit the powder, the sesame powder exports into Korea, where they can start limiting it, or whether they can put some restrictions to it, given they are losing a lot of earnings which they were earlier able to build it up from the private quota?
I don't think so. Like private quota and powder imports into the South Korea are completely related, because those are two different kind of products. Mainly the import for from the private quota are like premium kind of sesame seeds, Hulk sesame seeds, black sesame seeds, and other market sesame seeds, which are usually more expensive than what they buy in the tender. So it's what can say, like a bit of a premium grade they buy. Let's say from maybe Burkina they would buy, Ethiopia they would buy like very whitish color, very like better color than Indian sesame seeds or Pakistani sesame seeds, which they usually get from the tendering system, because the origin is not specified in that. So the private quota and powder is kind of a different business. The private quota players normally do not import for oil crushing, because it's not a very advantageous thing to do, because the quota is very expensive, and to compete against the government for the same product, it becomes a no-brainer. Yeah, sure. Like the question asked before, like why Chad is not being imported into South Korea. The major reason is that South Korea usually imports Sotex sesame seeds. Chad is still not as developed as the other markets to have like Sotexing facilities. The what you can say, the logistics supply chain is not so mature to deliver the cargo in time to the South Korean market. So due to those limiting factors, Chad still lags behind for the South Korean market.
All right. Well, this has been the most amazing session, and you know what is most heartening to see? We are pretty much left with one more, but one of the most important sessions of the day. There's still close to 100 of you seated right here in this hall. This shows your love for Sesame and your commitment to your business, everyone. So before I ask you to clap for each one of these on the stage, I request you to please clap for the person sitting next to you. Well, thank you. And with this, a big thank you going out to each one of you. And I must say a very special thank you to Mr. Chandarana, sir. You have been a remote chairperson at this session at the conference, but I must say that you have been so involved, so engaged. It was very refreshing to see you interact with each one of the speakers, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to request our stand-in moderator on the stage, Mr. Srivatsava Ganapathy, to present a memento to each one of our speakers up here. Of course, Ms. Elif Narin has already left the building. We would like to start by presenting a memento to Mr. David Buttery. What comprehensive information, and was such an eye-opener. Good to see India inching back. Next up, inviting Mr. Taichi Abe, sir. Too many questions for Japan. Let's have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. These are your pretty much final claps for the day. A big thank you to Mr. Mihir Parmar. And finally, Mr. Ghazwan Mousallati. Well, thank you everyone. And with this, I would like to request our very special guests in the house to please join us on the stage and present a memento. I would like to request Mr. Jean Jung from CCCFNA. Is he here in the house? Oh, he's already left. Well, in that case, can I request Mr. Kushwan Jain, sir, to please join us on the stage, present a memento to Mr. Srivatsava as well. Well, you did a fantastic job as a moderator, so let's have a round of applause for him as well. Okay, so Mr. Jain, before we give Mr. Vatsava's memento, we already have two people who've given us some amazing presentations in the morning. I'd like to start by inviting on stage Ms. Kuka Zongrana. Ma'am, let me have you on the stage for the memento. Let's make some noise for the lovely lady who took the podium by storm today morning. And I would now like to invite Mr. Joseph Mzunda. Let's have a round of applause. Such a committed researcher, scientist. Such a pleasure to have you on the stage here with us, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, can I request you all to please come up stage, come up close for a group picture on the stage. Why don't you join in the photo, ma'am? You'll add a lot of value and luster to the picture. Too many men standing all alone. Let's have the lady in the middle, please. Well, thank you, Mr. Vatsa. We'll give you your memento a little later. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Jain, for doing the honors.